Hey everyone, today I would like to discuss with you the topics on spark plugs, their causes of failure, maintenance, diagnosis, and service. And after you have watched this video, studied and practiced the contents, you should be able to describe foul spark plug conditions and diagnose normal spark plug wear. Proper ignition system operation is extremely important to obtain satisfactory engine performance and fuel economy. In gasoline internal combustion engines, spark plugs provide a critical air gap for the spark to jump across and ignite the fuel mixture. The purpose of the ignition system is to create a spark across the spark plug electrodes at the correct point in time in relation to the piston movement. But let me give my discussion more focus on spark plugs. The spark at the plug electrodes ignites the compressed air fuel mixture in the combustion chamber. A spark plug is contained in a metal shell, and the lower end of the shell has threads that match the threads in the cylinder head spark plug opening. A metal center electrode is positioned in the center of the spark plug, and a ceramic insulator surrounds this electrode. The center electrode and insulator assembly is mounted in the metal shell. The upper end of the shell is crimped over the insulator, preventing cylinder pressure from leaking up through the spark plug. A ground electrode is attached to the lower edge of the shell, and the outer end of the ground electrode is positioned over the top of the center electrode. The spark plug gap is the distance between the center and ground electrodes. This gap may vary from 0.035 or 35,000 inch to 0.080 or 80,000 inch, depending on the engine and ignition system design. Most spark plugs have a resistor in the center electrode to reduce radio static. The terminal at the top of the insulator contacts the center electrodes. The spark plug wire is connected to the terminal on top of the spark plug. The spark plug reach is the length of the threaded area. The spark plug reach usually varies from 3/8 inch to 3/4 inch depending on cylinder head and combustion chamber design. Replacement spark plugs must have reach specified by the vehicle manufacturer. If the spark plug reach is longer than specified, the spark plug extends too far into the combustion chamber. Under this condition, the piston may strike the spark plug electrodes, resulting in severe piston damage. If the spark plug reach is too short, the electrodes are not positioned properly in the combustion chamber. This may result in improper combustion. The spark plug shell is sealed to the cylinder head opening by a metal gasket or a tapered seat on the shell. The spark plug heat range indicates the ability of the spark plug to dissipate heat from the center electrode to the spark plug insulator to coolant circulated through a cylinder head passage surrounding the spark plug. Hot spark plugs are designed with a long heat path, so the heat has to travel further up through the insulator before it is dissipated through the shell into the cylinder head and coolant. In a spark plug with a colder heat range, the distance is shorter from the center electrode to the point where the insulator contacts the shell. This design allows faster heat dissipation through the spark plug so the electrode's temperature is reduced. On many spark plugs, the number on the spark plug indicates the heat range. A higher number represents a hotter range spark plug. In recent years, many engines have platinum tipped electrodes. The platinum coating on the electrodes resists erosion and high temperatures to provide longer spark plug life. Manufacturers commonly specify platinum tipped spark plug replacement at 100,000 miles or equivalent to 160,000 kilometers. Most vehicles are equipped with spark plug cables that contain a resistance to provide televisions and radio suppression or TVRS. These wires have a conductor in the center that contains carbon impregnated linen strands. The conductor is surrounded by a double braid and insulating material. Because spark plug wires conduct high voltage, they must have heavy insulation made from hypalon or silicon. Metal ends on the spark plug cable connect the center conductor to the spark plug terminal and the distributor cap or ignition coil. Most spark plug cables have an outer diameter of approximately 0.312 inch or 8 millimeters. Proper ignition system operation is extremely important to obtain satisfactory engine performance and fuel economy. In a four-cylinder engine running at 3,000 RPM or revolution per minute, each spark plug is firing 25 times per second. A considerable amount of intermittent spark plug misfiring can go undetected because of the very rapid spark plug firing. This intermittent misfiring causes increased exhaust emissions and reduced fuel economy. Spark plug maintenance, diagnosis, and service are extremely important to provide the intended fuel economy and emission levels designed into the vehicle by the manufacturer. The condition of an engine's spark plugs indicate what is happening in the cylinder. Correctly interpreting the type and amount of deposits on a used spark plug gives a good indicator of the conditions that are happening in that particular cylinder while operating. Spark plug should be removed at the vehicle manufacturer's recommended service interval. This service interval may vary from 20,000 to 100,000 miles or 32,000 to 160,000 kilometers depending on the type of spark plug and the operating conditions. Many engines are presently equipped with platinum tipped spark plugs with a specified replacement interval of 100,000 miles or 160,000 kilometers. As a general rule, all spark plug service is done when the engine is cold. Aluminum engine cylinder heads are particularly susceptible to damage. If the spark plugs are removed when the engine is hot, often the threads are damaged if extreme care is not taken. If normal combustion is occurring in all the cylinders, the lower end of the spark plug insulator should have a minimum amount of light tan or gray carbon deposits. Inspect the spark plug electrodes. The current arcing across the electrodes slowly erodes the electrodes. But this electrode erosion should not exceed 0.001 inch or 0.0254 millimeter for every 10,000 miles or 16,000 kilometers. Severely damaged spark plug electrodes indicate pre-ignition damage. Inspect the upper and lower ends of the insulator for cracks. Spark plugs with burned electrodes or cracked insulator must be replaced. Pre-ignition is the ignition of the air-fuel mixture in the combustion chamber by something other than spark at the spark plug electrodes. This is usually caused by hot carbon deposits or spark plugs with heat range that is too hot. Carbon-fouled spark plugs have dry, black carbon deposits. Any type of carbon deposits on the spark plug indicator causes the high secondary ignition voltage to arc from the center electrode across the carbon deposits to the spark plug shell. Carbon fouled plugs will misfire because it is easier for electricity to conduct along the carbon than to cross the spark plug gap. This results in a cylinder misfiring and the air fuel mixture in the combustion chamber is not ignited. Carbon fouled spark plugs may caused by a rich air fuel mixture. Secondary ignition misfiring in the spark plug, a colder than specified spark plug heat range, or low cylinder compression. Oil-fouled spark plugs are recognized by wet oil deposits on the spark plug insulator and electrodes. Oil-fouled spark plugs have the same effect as carbon-fouled spark plugs. Oil-fouled spark plugs are caused by oil entering the combustion chamber. The causes of this problem may be worn piston rings or cylinder walls, worn valve guide seals or valve guides, leaking intake manifold gaskets on some V8 or V6 engines, a leaking transmission modulator, or a completely restricted PCV system. This is the positive crankcase ventilation system. Splash foul spark plugs have hard carbon deposits splashed on the spark plug insulators. A spark, or rather a splash foul spark plug, is usually caused by combustion chamber deposit that loosen and stick to the spark plug insulator. This condition may occur after a cylinder has been misfiring, allowing some carbon deposits to build up in the combustion chamber. When the cause of the misfiring is corrected, this carbon deposit may loosen and cause a splash foul spark plug. Occasionally, hot combustion chamber deposits loosen and become lodged between the spark plug electrodes. This spark plug condition is called gap bridging. Spark plugs that show any of this defective condition must be replaced. Other defects of spark plugs are spark plug already worn out or overheated. When installing a new set of spark plugs, always use the spark plugs with numbers specified by the vehicle manufacturer. Spark plug electrode gaps must be set to the vehicle manufacturer's specifications using a round wire filler gauge or a gapping tool. If spark plugs require metal gasket, always be sure this gasket is in place before installing the plugs. Place a small amount of anti-seize compound on the first two spark plug threads. This is especially important on aluminum cylinder heads to prevent electrolytic action between the steel spark plug shell and the aluminum cylinder head. Always start the spark plug into the cylinder head threads by hand to avoid damaging these threads. Turn the spark plug into the cylinder head threads by hand until the gasket or tapered seat contacts the cylinder head. So that's it for today's topic. Thank you for watching.